Hi there, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. I'm Joan Woodward, president of the Travelers Institute. Welcome to our webinar series. Thanks for coming back. Before we get started today, as always, we're going to share our disclaimer about today's program. I'd also like to thank our terrific webinar partners today, the Masters in FinTech program at UConn, the Metro Hartford Alliance, the National African American Insurance Association, and the Big I. And with that, let's get started. Today, we're talking about living with a chronic disease and Parkinson's. If you tuned in today, it might be because you or someone in your life is navigating a difficult health situation like Parkinson's or others. These can be very difficult to handle, whether you're the one with a disease or the one caring for someone with a disease. Parkinson's is a progressive neurological disorder that affects movement, balance, and other bodily functions. According to the Parkinson's Foundation, nearly 1 million people in the United States and 10 million worldwide are living with the illness. About 90,000 people in the United States are diagnosed each year, and the number is growing. Our guest speaker today, Anna Marie Colapetro, was diagnosed with Parkinson's 8 years ago in 2017 and at the height of her career. Anna Marie is part of the P&C industry for 35 years and part of the Travelers family for over 21 years. So to say she's an integral part of our family as well as the industry really is an understatement. We are all team Anna Marie here at Travelers. Some of you even sent messages of support and love to Anna Marie when you registered for this webinar. So we love that. Thank you so much. Today, she serves as Vice President for Enterprise Distribution and Agency Experience. She's responsible for financial analytics, internal and external operational deliverables. She also coordinates our relationship with industry associations, and she's a key leader in major conferences that I get to attend, luckily, such as the Travelers Leadership Conference, or TLC, and of course, the upcoming amazing Travelers Golf Championship. She joins us today and she's going to share her story with us and how today she's living with Parkinson's and balancing a very busy life and career. Thank you, Anna Marie, my friend, for coming on our show. For the medical perspective on the disease, we're joined today by Dr. Antonelle DiMarcaida, the medical director for Hartford Healthcare's Chase Family Movement Disorders Center. Under her leadership, Hartford Healthcare's Movement Disorders Program was designated as a comprehensive care center by the Parkinson's Foundation's Global Care Network, one of the first in the nation and the only one in the Northeast to date. She completed her fellowship in the experimental therapeutics and movement disorders at the University of Rochester and her neurology residency at the University of Connecticut, where she was selected as chief resident during both her third and fourth years of training. She was named one of Hartford's top 30 women of distinction in 2019 for her service to patients with Parkinson's disease and other movement disorders, and her role in developing the Movement Disorders Program at Hartford Healthcare. Dr. DiMarcaida is not Anna Marie's doctor, but they have a special bond that we'll get into later in the program. So welcome to you both. We're honored to have you to talk about this disease and grateful, of course, to Anna Marie for sharing her personal story. So Anna Marie, let's start with you. You were diagnosed in 2017. So what led you up to this diagnosis? And how did you find out that you had Parkinson's?
First, Joan, thank you for your kind words, and thank you for having me and Dr. DiMarcaida here to talk about my story and about Parkinson's disease and living with it. So you're right. In April 2017, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And what originally led me to the doctor was a shoulder injury from working out. I had shoulder pain, I had some limited mobility, and I started to have a little shake in my right hand, a shaky feeling. And I didn't think anything of it other than I had injured my shoulder. And so I needed to get to the doctor. And that was really what led me down the path of seeing a series of doctors that ultimately led to my diagnosis.
Okay, so before we go much further into Anna Marie's story, I want to step back here and bring in Dr. DiMarcaida into the discussions to tell us more about the medical perspective. So, Most of us probably know only just a little bit about Parkinson's. What exactly is the disease, and do we know what causes it?
Parkinson's disease, as Anne Marie was starting to describe, is a condition that is characterized by slowness of movement. So that's the key feature, bradykinesia. And then the rest tremor as well, which can be in the hands, can be in the legs or the jaw. Loss of balance and gait changes, so shuffling of gait, a little bit of stooping of the posture, and rigidity of the muscles. So what that means for people is they might notice that when they're walking, they're not swinging one arm as much. Anne Marie actually picked up on an early symptom of Parkinson's that is not always recognized, which is one-sided shoulder pain. A lot of physicians are saying that that could actually be one of the most common initial symptoms of Parkinson's disease. But there's also loss of facial expression, loss of voice volume, handwriting gets smaller. And what happens, Joan, is that there is loss of very specific brain cells in a part of the brain called the substantia nigra, which is the main producer of a neurochemical called dopamine. Dopamine is crucial for movement. So if you don't have enough of these brain cells that produce dopamine, then there is impairment of movement. As regards the cost, for a lot of things these days, we recognize that it's really a combination of factors. We believe that for Parkinson's disease, it's a genetic predisposition. Doesn't mean that it's hereditary, by the way. It's just the DNA makeup that you were born with, plus environmental exposure. So if you have a combination of these factors of a genetic predisposition and exposure to chemicals that have been known to cause Parkinsonism, then you might manifest with Parkinson's disease.
Okay, thanks for that. So that's the causes. So, what is the greatest risk factor for Parkinson's?
So if we really think about it, the greatest risk factor is age. At 65 years, it is estimated that 2% of people will develop Parkinson's disease. At 80, that's almost 3% of people will develop Parkinson's disease. So if you have a room full of 100 people who are 65 and older, 2 of them would have Parkinson's disease. And as the population ages, we are seeing more and more people who are developing these neurodegenerative disorders.
So why are these numbers getting so large? Why is there's so much growth in Parkinson's now in the U.S.?
Yes, it is estimated that every 6 minutes, another American is going to be diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. We are living at a time, Joan, that has been referred to as a Parkinson's pandemic. And the easy answer has always been that people are living longer, and therefore, as we age, these conditions become more common. But there are many researchers now who are saying that this Parkinson's pandemic is the number of people who are developing Parkinson's disease is rising much more rapidly than the number of people who are getting older. And we believe it's environmental toxins. We are exposed to so many toxins in our environment that we're not even aware of. TCE was recently implicated as a cause of Parkinson's disease. And I don't know if any of you have heard of Camp Lejeune in North Carolina, a Marine base. And they found that the water there had 280 times a higher level of TCE than was healthy, than was safe. And indeed, a lot of the residents of Camp Lejeune develop Parkinson's disease and other conditions. Pesticides, insecticides, herbicides, some heavy metals, manganese, arsenic, iron, zinc, all of these have been implicated in causing Parkinson's. And it's in our environment, and it never goes away. A lot of these toxins from the 70s still exist in our water. A lot of houses still have lead paint if they haven't been redone. And they are all neurodegenerative, meaning brain cell destroying. So that is the time that we live in, and we need to advocate for the Environmental Protection Agency to get rid of these toxins, to ban these pesticides, so we are not continually exposed.
Well, thank you so much for all of that. It's incredibly interesting, and I think not a lot of people realize what you just went through. So thank you. Anne Marie, back to you. I want to talk about early symptoms and flags that you picked up on so quickly. A lot of us maybe would have ignored. So, what were your early symptoms, and what made you think you might have a health issue?
Yeah, so as I said, I had this shoulder injury and I thought something was going on. What really triggered me was when I was walking, I would feel my hand fluttering, like if you're walking in water and you can feel your hand fluttering in the water. So that was a little bit, concerning to me. I thought, what's this about? And then I started to develop the tremor in my right hand. So it started with my pinky and it then expanded to my right hand and my right upper arm. And it wasn't happening all the time. So I really didn't think I had a serious problem. Attributed it to the shoulder. I attributed it to I had an extra cup of coffee this morning. You tell yourself whatever you need to believe that it's not something more serious. Um, One of the things that I didn't know then that I do know now is that there are non-motor symptoms of Parkinson's disease that I had probably been experiencing for a number of years, like GI issues, which I thought, well, you have a gluten sensitivity, so that's causing that, or trouble sleeping, which I'm just a bad sleeper, or trouble regulating my body temperature, which I attributed to menopause. And so none of these in and of themselves told me you have Parkinson's disease. But with the tremor and, once the diagnosis was made, I kind of put it all together and I went, oh my gosh, I probably have been, experiencing some symptoms for longer than I thought I had been.
Wow. Okay, I have some of those things. So, doctor, how is this actually diagnosed? Is there a blood test? Is it watching it? How is it diagnosed officially?
So for decades, we were saying that Parkinson's disease is a clinical diagnosis. What that means is we have to base our diagnosis on the story, just like Anne Marie shared, the symptoms that she's expressing. And then we do a neurologic examination to verify that these symptoms are related to what we know is associated with Parkinson's disease. But there have been so many breakthroughs in medicine, and we are happy to say that now we actually do have diagnostic testing. I used to have to say for years, Joan, there is no test for Parkinson's disease. Now there's imaging studies called the DAT scan that we can do. There's also a skin biopsy that will demonstrate the abnormal proteins that are characteristic of Parkinson's disease, which is alpha-synuclein. So these are incredible times, and we are happy and grateful that we have this medical breakthroughs.
Wow. Okay. So Anne Marie, what should people be aware of and not write off as, a normal sign of aging, for example?
Yeah. It's hard to say specifically what people should be aware of because everyone is different. And as I've learned, Parkinson's disease can present differently in every person. As I said, the non-motor symptoms that I was experiencing could have been anything, but when the tremor started, it's when I really became concerned. Um, my family has a really unfortunate and terrible history of neuromuscular diseases, including ALS. And so when all of these things started happening, it really made me concerned. But in terms of what people should be aware of, my advice is anything and everything. Be aware of any changes in your body. Pay attention to your body. You know what's normal and what normal feels like. And so if you start experiencing something that is out of character or out of pattern, keep track of it. Like keep a journal or a log so that when you go to your doctor, you can tell them, I'm experiencing this symptom or this problem every hour or every 3 days or whatever the case may be. I think you have to really advocate for yourself and make sure that your doctor is listening to you. I've heard countless stories of people who've been to the doctor and the doctor has said, well, it's all in your head and there's nothing wrong with you. So my advice is be your own advocate. If you can't be an advocate, find someone who can be an advocate for you. And if you don't like the answer you're getting from one doctor, find another doctor. And I'm not insinuating that we should over abuse or abuse the medical resources at our disposal, but you got to use the resources that you have to make sure that you know what's going on with your body. I was lucky that all of this took literally months from the time I injured my shoulder to the time that I was diagnosed. But you hear countless times, whether it's people dealing with MS or PD or other issues, that it takes years to get a diagnosis. And that just delays your ability to be under treatment and benefit from some of the therapies and procedures that Dr. DeMarcida mentioned.
Okay, wonderful. So how can someone who suspects they have a movement disorder or any other medical condition for that matter accelerate that path to diagnosis, doctor?
Yes, you actually don't need the medical perspective. Anne Marie is so sophisticated in her awareness and her knowledge that pretty much she got it right. You know, you have to be aware of the things that are going on within you and trust your instinct. Because a lot of times, as she shared, we would rather dismiss these things. Instead of dismissing them, ask your primary care physician, I have this, and then they can evaluate you and make sure that it is something that can be dismissed versus something that needs further workup. My other recommendation, Joan, is that if you suspect something in particular, such as Parkinson's disease or a malignancy, a cancerous situation, go to a specialist. Medicine has developed so much at this point that one physician, whom we usually refer to as our primary care physician, what used to be referred to as general practitioners, really can't have everything and all the knowledge and all the diagnostic testing and all the therapeutic options at their fingertips. So if you feel that there is something more specific going on with you because you know yourself, then go see a specialist. You can start with your primary care physician, request for an evaluation, but if there's more going on, seek out that special care.
Okay, wonderful. So now let's go on and talk about research and treatments for this disease. So through obviously we know organizations like the Parkinson's Foundation or the Michael J. Fox Foundation, there's significant amounts of research being done now. So what treatments are currently available or in the pipeline maybe of research to give people hope for tomorrow?
My career has been dedicated to furthering research in Parkinson's disease and other movement disorders. My fellowship training was in experimental therapeutics. And what I share with people is that the reason that we have so many medication options, surgical options, infusion pumps, transdermal patches for Parkinson's disease, and similarly, many treatment options for other conditions is because people participated in clinical trials. So what I tell my people who I invite to participate in a clinical research study is that when you participate, you may not benefit personally from being in the study, because for a clinical trial to be well run, you have to have a placebo arm, meaning that you may not be getting the study drug, a sugar pill, as some people call it, or you may be getting the study drug, and you won't know what you're taking, we won't know what you're taking. So this is very altruistic. But for every one of the people that I have cared for who participated in a clinical trial, another medication has become available to the 1 million Americans with Parkinson's disease, to the 10 million people around the world who have Parkinson's disease, because you participated in clinical trials. So like I said, we have over 30 medications for Parkinson's disease. We have 3 surgical platforms for Parkinson's disease when they get more advanced. We have infusion pumps that are infused where you infuse the medication directly into the intestine or even subcutaneously right into the skin. Transdermal patches, inhalers. It's really mind-blowing. We have ultrasound therapy to treat tremors in Parkinson's disease. And in the pipeline, what we are really targeting is personalized medicine. They are more advanced with this, Joan, in cancer treatment, but
Okay.
for neurodegenerative disorders, we are looking to see if the genetic makeup that I was talking about earlier can guide very specifically the treatments that will work for each person. So as Anne-Marie mentioned earlier, we know, and we are always saying, everyone with Parkinson's is different. Your symptoms will be different. Your progression will be different. The non-motor symptoms you experience will be different. But the question is why? And it could lie within that genetic makeup that you have. So if everyone's genetic makeup is different, it is arrogant for us to assume that we will find one cure that can treat everybody's Parkinson's. This has to be personalized to whatever it is that is going on in your own personal physiology. So that is the future of Parkinson's. And we have been seeking that holy grail of a cure or something that will slow down the progression of Parkinson's disease for decades. So participate in clinical trials for whatever disease entity you are passionate about, and you are contributing to the future of treating and managing that condition well.
That's great advice. I think the clinical trials that go on in the US, I mean, just so many breakthroughs, and research is so critically important in all these diseases. How can we help support that further research, Doctor?
Well, you mentioned a lot of organizations that are supporting research. At Hartford Healthcare's Chase Family Movement Disorder Center, we are closely associated with the Parkinson's Foundation that has a global presence. So it's not just personally participating in clinical trials, but also contributing to these organizations that support research. The Michael J. Fox Foundation that you mentioned earlier, advocating with your senators and congressmen to continue to support research, continue to support the NIH. These are all things we can all do. And it doesn't just have to be about Parkinson's. Whatever is in your family, whatever you are personally going through, support advocacy, support research.
No, that's great advice. All right, let's pivot a bit. I want to talk about overall wellness, well-being. Doctor, you're a huge advocate, as I heard, for a focus on well-being as an approach to healthcare and wellness, as opposed to like a single-minded treatment on a focus. So tell me more about the overall well-being and how you advise patients, and
Yes,
what you advise patients to do.
so many things, right? As you mentioned earlier, Joan, at Hartford Healthcare, we were awarded that designation of comprehensive care center. And the reason for that is because we recognize that, unfortunately, in Western medicine, the focus has always been treating illness without much dedication to promoting wellness. And besides medications, what we know, things like physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, and exercise, and a healthy diet, and sleeping well, and not stressing, and being socially involved, actually are magical in helping slow down the progression of Parkinson's disease and other neurodegenerative disorders. We have found that if you exercise regularly in your middle age, which is at this point 60,
Good.
yes. So if you exercise vigorously in the middle part of your life, you are preventing the onset of dementia, preventing or slowing down the progression of Parkinson's disease. So this is actually something that is the magic pill that we were looking for so long. And it's in your hands. The power is in your hands. You can choose to exercise. You can choose to eat healthy. You can choose to remain involved and socialize and do things that you enjoy.
That's wonderful. It's wonderful advice. I love hearing it. And we have webinars on every single one of those things you talked about, whether it was sleep,
Uh,
nutrition, exercise. So thank you for that holistic look. All right, Anne Marie, back to you. I want to talk about living with Parkinson's and, how's this disease changed your life? You have a very, very big job here and your work with your family. I know you volunteer a lot. What are some of the challenges that you face?
In part, this diagnosis has changed everything about my life, and in other ways, it hasn't changed my life at all because I'm determined not to let Parkinson's disease win. To me, peace and acceptance were were and are critically important in my ability to deal with Parkinson's. And I don't mean resignation, like, oh my, I have Parkinson's. I mean truly acceptance, which cleared the way for me to focus on living with this disease and fighting it every single day. Everyone's journey is different, and getting to peace and acceptance may not come quickly and it may not come at all. I'm grateful that it came quickly and easily for me. And at this point in my journey, my symptoms are pretty mild, and it's allowed me to continue to face the challenges that my work life presents and that life in general throws at us every day. I think part of it is my personality too, how I'm wired. I'm driven to succeed and I am pretty stubborn. I don't typically back down from a challenge, and I think that has served me well. And I think one of the other things is I'm really blessed to have a big circle of support, people who have embraced me and who have accepted me as I am and where I'm at. My husband, my family, my friends, my work family, my healthcare team. Dr. DeMarchida has built an incredible team of talented medical professionals, and they strive to treat me as a whole person and not just treat my disease. I like to say that they've put me at the center of the practice and not in the middle of the practice. They help me navigate my journey, and I'm incredibly grateful to them for that.
That's so wonderful. It's just everything you said is wonderful. So how has this diagnosis made you look at life any differently? I mean, are you taking trips? Are you doing things now while you can? How do you think about that? Because I know when someone gets diagnosed with say a
Mm.
cancer or something, they're thinking very differently about their next 10, 20, 30 years on this planet. So how do you think about that?
Yeah, that's inevitable. Any kind of a diagnosis makes you look at things differently in terms of how fragile life can be. I think about what I need to do to live a long, healthy, productive life, and I'd be lying if I didn't say that there are things that scare me, both big and small. Uh, I'm right-handed, and my tremor is in my right hand. So, will I be able to write out birthday cards for my nieces and nephews? Will I be able to drive my car and be independent with my husband? And will I become a burden to my husband and family? And what does all that entail? Like, what do we have to do in terms of financial planning and medical planning for the future? A big challenge for me personally is that whether it's real or not, I feel that there's a stigma associated with PD and with other diseases. It's made me a little more self-conscious when the tremor is present. Like, I worry, can people see my hand tremoring and what do they think? It took me a long time before I was able to broadly share my story, in part because I just didn't want people to view me differently or as less than. There's a show on Apple TV right now called Shrinking, and Harrison Ford plays a character who has Parkinson's disease. And in one of the episodes, he admits that he hasn't told his daughter about the fact that he has Parkinson's disease yet. And he says something like, I'm afraid that she won't see me the same way she used to, that she'll see me as a sad old man who needs to be taken care of. And I totally relate to that statement. I really want people to know that me and others with diseases, whether they're evident or not, we're still who we are. I'm still capable of everything that I ever was. I'm not fragile because I have PD. If anything, I'm stronger and bolder. I'm not less than. I'm totally focused on living with it, and I really take pride in striving to maintain a normal life as much as I can. I try to wake up every day and make a choice to fight, and that's how I think I've managed through this. And while I may not have done much that's new and different, I still love to spend time with my family. I love to travel, although don't make enough time for it. Joan, I love to golf like you. Don't make enough time for that either. But I'm trying to do something different. So last year ballroom dance was different for me, and I know we'll talk about that. My goal is really to try to do something every year that scares me. And I think this year it might be rock climbing, which I've heard is a
Oh
really
my gosh.
indoor rock climbing. Like, I'm not scaling any big mountains or anything.
Well,
I've heard.
I look up to you on the golf course. I am not going to look up to you while we're rock climbing because I will not be rock climbing with you. But if anyone has seen Anna Marie's golf swing, I mean, it is wicked. It is mean. She outdrives me every time. So, Anna Marie, you mentioned it. So let's talk about ballroom dancing. I mean, how in the world did you decide to take this up? I would be so intimidated by it, but I just can't believe you did this. And how did you take it up? Was it Dancing with the Stars that inspired you? Is this a therapeutic thing that may be helping with your PD?
Yeah, so I didn't set out to start dancing. I like to say that it kind of found me through my Hartford Healthcare team. So at some point early last year, my neurologist called me and left me a message and said, "I have a non-medical question for you." And I thought, what could she possibly want to ask me? And when we talked, she told me about this amazing event called Stars Dancing for Parkinson's, which the Chase Family Movement Disorder Center hosts for the last 6 years this year. And she invited me to be the patient dancer. Every year, they invite someone with Parkinson's to participate as a dancer in this event. And I immediately said, "Yes, I'll do it." And then I hung up the phone and said, "What the heck did you just agree to do? Like, you're not a dancer." But in preparation, I was given the opportunity to take dance lessons with a professional ballroom dancer, had 10 lessons. My plan was to take those lessons, participate in the event, and then hang up my dance shoes. But little did I know that I was going to fall in love with ballroom and that I am now getting ready to participate in my second ballroom dance competition.
So cool. It is just so cool. So Doctor, to you, I mean, you played a big role in Anna Marie's journey here in ballroom dancing because your husband, Vlad, is her dance instructor and partner. So, uh, is this ballroom dancing good form of exercise for PD patients? And do you recommend it for others?
It is fantastic. So the reason why we put together that fundraiser that Anne Marie was telling you about, Stars Dancing for Parkinson's, is because you have a neurologist who is a specialist in Parkinson's disease, married to a professional ballroom dancer. So if you have a ballroom dancer and a neurologist together, what do you get? Stars Dancing for Parkinson's. And it was actually my husband's idea to put together that fundraiser because I came home one day 7 years ago now. And I was saying, I really want to have exercise classes for our patients at the Chase Family Movement Disorder Center, but I want it to be free of charge because I don't want financial restrictions to limit their ability to access these exercise classes. So we have Tai Chi, yoga, dance classes, um, high intensity interval training, boxing in all of our comprehensive centers at Hartford Healthcare. And he said, "Well, I know some professional dancers, and I even know the people who used to be at that ABC show, Dancing with the Stars. They can be your judges. And my colleagues in the ballroom studio can be your pros. And you just have to find me celebrities." So we have people who are the leadership of Hartford Healthcare, some people from the community who would volunteer, more like being voluntold, to be part of this event. And we put together that fundraiser, which year after year has raised more and more for the wellness programs at Hartford Healthcare. But ballroom dancing is actually, in one review of all of the exercises for Parkinson's disease, they found that ballroom dancing may be the most effective. And I'm sure Anne Marie can appreciate why. You have to be aware of your posture. So stooping of the posture is something that happens with Parkinson's disease. You have a partner who pushes you to take longer strides and even challenges your balance. Do you do some dips, Anne Marie, and some twirls and turns?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is something that challenges your balance. The music in and of itself is therapeutic. So you are doing all of these exercise routines to music, which activates a different part of the brain. And there's the social aspect, the connection with your partner, the connection with the dance community. So there are so many things about ballroom dancing. And in fact, the study was done clinical trial was done, and it showed that Argentine tango was superior to other exercise routines at the gym for Parkinson's disease and the benefits that it shows. So Anne
Oh,
Marie
wow.
has it right. It is fantastic.
That's awesome. Are there other exercises in particular for PD patients, would you say,
Yes.
or just generally exercising, no matter what it is, just getting out there and doing it? Or is there something in particular other than ballroom dancing?
Exactly as you say, Joan. So what's key is that, so not all of us have the courage to start dancing. Find something that you enjoy, but do it frequently. What we have found is that if you exercise, and you can aim towards achieving this, right? Don't expect to do it right away. Build up to it. But 150 minutes of vigorous exercise every week is what we find to be most therapeutic, most beneficial to your overall health. But even if you do something 10 minutes a day, just do
Yeah,
it. And then
better than
after a
nothing.
while,
Right.
yeah, make it 15 minutes. And any exercise routine is beneficial. So
Okay,
just
good.
find something you enjoy.
Good, good, good. I like to hear that. Okay, so Anne Marie, you're very active on LinkedIn, as am I. If you're not following us, if you're in the audience today, go on your LinkedIn while you're listening to us talk and join us on LinkedIn. I post a lot about webinars and content. Anna Marie posts as well, but also she posts her story. And a lot of people, I'm sure, Anna Marie, have reached out to you on LinkedIn. Tell us why you decided to be that open with your journey on LinkedIn.
Yeah, like I said, it took me a long time to be comfortable in sharing my journey, but I finally realized that I had nothing to be ashamed of, and that if I did share my story, I might actually be able to help other people in that process. And so it has helped me a lot, but I also hope that it has helped other people in other ways.
Great. So I want to talk about resiliency. So Anna Marie's journey of resiliency and attitude and outlook is just remarkable. Doctor, what have you learned from her that you may share with your other patients at the Movement Disorder Center to help others?
I think that one of the things that Anne Marie shared today is something that I wish everyone with Parkinson's disease or other medical conditions would recognize. So you are not your Parkinson's. You are still you. And there is a personality profile that has been described for people with Parkinson's disease that actually characterizes Anne Marie to a T. A lot of people who are diagnosed with Parkinson's disease are highly intelligent, are good citizens, good husbands, good wives, always followed the rules, usually professionals, doctors, nurses, engineers. A lot of professionals get Parkinson's disease. They never smoked. They drank milk because mother told them to. And all of these things actually have been explained on the basis of the dopamine deficiency. So dopamine, if you have a lot of it, is actually the adventure chemical of the brain. So a lot of people with high levels of dopamine will be cutting class, will be partying, drinking, smoking, doing all these things. But somebody who's genetically predisposed to develop Parkinson's in later life will have less dopamine from the get-go. So they are not cutting class, they are going to school, they are going to higher learning, they are following the rules. So there are so many things about people with Parkinson's disease that make them invaluable members of society. And they are very gifted, very talented, very strong people. And you must never lose sight of yourself. Always know that you are still you. You are you with Parkinson's disease. You are you with cancer, but you are still you. Never identify yourself as, I am my Parkinson's disease. You are not.
It's wonderful. That's just wonderful. And I really appreciate you saying all that for those listening.
And for the record, I never cut class.
I believe
That's
that. I
right.
believe that.
You are classic personality.
Okay, so we want to go to audience questions. There are many, many, many questions coming in. We can't get to all of them, but one of them, a lot of them coming in are about caregivers. And these questions from spouses or family members, not just with Parkinson's, maybe cancer, maybe dementia, other diseases people are living with. They're all asking about caregiving advice. So, what are those really key ingredients or important things that you've learned over the way? I'm going to ask both of you. Anna Marie, you want to go first and talk about caregiving, recommendations?
Yeah, so caregiving is going to change over the course of my life, right? I'm independent now, and what works for me today is great, but that might not work for me in 5 to 10 years. And so making sure that my family and my friends and my network of caregivers understand what could happen down the road. I think that's critically important so that they're aware and they're watching out with me and for me, and that they keep me in the conversation. Don't make decisions for me, make decisions with me for as long as we can. And then just in terms of advice for caregivers, like take care of yourself, because if you break down, you're not going to be able to help me. And so always making sure that you're looking out for yourself is critically important.
And doctor, what is your advice for caregivers?
So, for us in our practice, we like to call people care partners for exactly the reason that Anne Marie says. So you have to be part of that journey. A lot of people come to the office and they come alone. As much as people can, be with your loved one when they go to the doctor's office, because your perspective is invaluable, especially for if the spouse with the condition such as Parkinson's disease is a man. So men never complain about anything. You ask them all these things. Oh, yes, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. And there's nothing wrong with them. Having the wife there or the partner there to give that third person perspective is so helpful for the physician caring for your loved one. And I echo Anne Marie's advice to always take care of yourself. So what I say is that it becomes even more crucial if your loved one has a chronic condition for you to take time off, because if you burn out, then your loved one is going to be even more vulnerable. And knowing that your loved one, like I said, is not their condition. So you still have to make sure that you are relating to them as their partner, as their husband, as their wife. And when the time comes that providing care that your loved one needs is a little bit more than you can do, I always recommend, if you can, to get professional help. Have somebody that you can have come into the house for a few hours each day so that you can remain the husband, you can remain the wife. Because after a while, if there's a lot of care that goes into the everyday, it erodes relationships. And you don't want that. You want to continue to be in that loving, supportive relationship and leave these other things to a professional.
Yeah, I'm going to recommend here for those who want to know more about caregiving. I had a terrific webinar on a good friend of mine was in an Amtrak train that derailed. It was one of the worst Amtrak, very fatal crashes outside of Philadelphia. Her name is Geraldine Ritter, Ritter. She wrote a book, and she was very candid about her relationship with her husband as a caregiver. And I think she had 17 operations. It was a very, very significant train crash for her. And she was very honest in the book about how they got through that. And so, if you're a caregiver, married to someone, supporting someone, and you're looking for solutions and ideas and kind of advice from someone who was really critically ill, go to Geraldine Ritter's book. I thought it was fantastic. Look at this topic. So, and I love the notion of taking care of yourself first. It's kind of like put your own mask on before you mask the person next to you. I think that's wonderful. How about those of us, me, for example? So I'm not a caregiver to Anna Marie, but how could I be supportive of a work colleague or someone in my circle who might have it? What can I do? Anna Marie, you want to answer that one?
Yeah, thanks, Joan. I think, just get involved and be with them. Like, I appreciate now that people are aware that I have Parkinson's disease, or more aware, they ask me how I'm doing it, and I really appreciate that. As I said, I have a great circle of family and friends who support me, and I had over 40 of them with me at the dancing event last May, and it meant so much. I had so many people, colleagues and friends, who donated to the event. I have people who pray for me, and I so appreciate that. They understand how committed I am to fighting this disease, and they're finding ways to support me. A great example of that is my amazing niece, Lindsay, who is running the Chicago Marathon in October, raising funds for the Parkinson's Foundation. So I'm going to have a link up on my LinkedIn page pretty soon to her fundraising page.
Awesome.
I'm really excited about that for her. So I appreciate all the support.
Awesome. Okay, so Anna Marie, last question for you here before we get to more audience questions. For anyone listening or watching to this, what is your message to them?
Um, Dr. DeMarcata touched on this. I'm still me. Don't treat me as I'm not capable. Don't treat me as if I'm less than. Just be aware that I'm me, and I still have hopes and dreams and goals that I want to achieve. But if you see me and I'm not looking 100%, I might be having a little bit of a rough day. And so give some grace and kindness. I think that's like so critically important, because we don't understand what people are dealing with physically, emotionally, mentally. And so just that, giving grace and being kind to people goes a really long way.
Okay, audience question coming in from Kelly Kearney, maybe to both of you. What leadership lessons can organizations take from individuals like Anna Marie about fostering resiliency, inclusion, and career? Because again, as an employer, we want to be supportive, but what advice do you have, Anna Marie, for that?
Yeah, so I think this kind of goes back to my comment on the perceived stigma, right? Acknowledge what's going on with people. Ask them if there's something that can be done to help them deal with it. Don't assume that I can't tackle the next big project or take on a bigger role simply because I have Parkinson's disease. There's still goals. There's still things that I want to achieve in my career and in my life. And don't ascribe limitations to people. If your organization has resources, share those resources and make them known so that people can take advantage of them when and if they need them.
Okay, wonderful. Um, Kim and oh, I'm sorry, doctor. Did you want to mention anything about that?
Well, I think the only thing that I'm going to add, leadership and organization need to take a more proactive role in terms of making sure that they are supporting people with chronic conditions, with disabilities, and to understand that a lot of these people, as regards Parkinson's disease, like I said, these are very talented people. And after the diagnosis, know that a lot of these highly talented, strong people become even more tenacious. So take advantage of that tenacity that comes with knowing that you have to double up your efforts to overcome, and make sure that opportunities are given to them and accommodations if necessary to make your organization friendly and non-toxic and just supportive of everybody in the community.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, another question coming in from Kim Anktel, wants to know, Anna Marie, where do you find the courage and strength on your worst days? Or maybe how are you thinking about your worst days maybe to come? If
Yeah.
you're okay.
I don't consider myself to be particularly strong or courageous any more than anyone else who's dealing with something. But I just go back to every day I wake up, I have a choice to make about whether I'm going to roll over and give in or whether I'm going to get up and fight. And I just can't not get up and fight. So that's how I approach every single day, good days and bad days. My ballroom dance experience is giving me new perspective and a new sense of confidence. If I can dance in front of 600 or more people, and in front of professional dancers and professional judges with full hair performance and makeup, which I really don't like, I can do more than I give myself credit for. And so I just can't let Parkinson's disease limit me. I won't.
Yeah, I mean, that experience alone, you can handle any insurance challenge that comes your way during 9 to 5 if you're doing that on the weekends. Okay, another question for you, Anne Marie. Edward Oxner of Simkiss and Block asks, what do you do for yourself that helps keep your mind clear or mentally focused on your success plan?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. It's hard for all of us to stay focused, right? We have so many distractions every single day, and I'd like to say that meditation is helping me, but I don't have the attention span for meditation. So I just really try to focus on being present in the moment and focusing on the task at hand, whether it's something at work or whether it's planning with my family or learning a new dance. And actually, I go back to it, but ballroom dance has really helped me to learn to be present in the moment and to focus because I have to think about what's that next step. Otherwise, I'm going to make a mistake. I'm going to screw it up. So, just trying to keep the perspective of there's so much more good in my life than not. And that helps me stay focused and try to achieve something new every day.
Okay, wonderful. A lot of people asking this question. Anna Marie, you can take it first, and then Doctor to you. Our viewers want to know where they can give to find a cure for Parkinson's. What are the organizations would you recommend that they look at?
So obviously I have a couple of favorites. One is the Hartford Healthcare Chase Family Movement Disorder Center. So supporting them and the programs that they have for patients that Dr. DeMarcida talked about. The Parkinson's Foundation, and another shameless plug for Lindsay and her Chicago Marathon bid. And the Michael J. Fox Foundation. I mean, all three of those are really favorites of mine and something that organizations that I'm committed to giving to.
Wonderful. Doctor?
Earlier, when I was showing pictures of Stars Dancing for Parkinson's, there was a QR code there for donating to the Chase Family Movement Disorder Centers, wellness programs through the Stars Dancing for Parkinson's event. So I think that the decision to give to specific organizations, as Anne Marie mentioned, Parkinson's Foundation, Michael J. Fox Foundation, or Hartford Healthcare, depends on what your passions are. So if you think that you would like to donate directly to a local institution like Hartford Healthcare that is directly caring for patients, then yes, you may choose to graciously and generously donate to our event. If you wish to donate towards advocacy and more of a political presence, the Michael J. Fox Foundation is excellent. If you want to donate towards research and resources, education, the Parkinson's Foundation has a lot of resources globally to educate the community of patients and their families dealing with Parkinson's disease. So it has to depend on where you want your
Okay.
dollars to go. And we are grateful for any support towards the community of Parkinson's disease.
Okay, wonderful. So, folks out there, we have a survey in our chat. And what I'd love for you to do now, if you can, if you have a minute or two, you don't need to spend 10 minutes on this. But in our survey, we ask you what other topics you would like us to take on at the Travelers Institute in our Wednesday sessions. And this came in as an idea a few months back, and we talked to Anna Marie, and she was so thrilled to uh, quickly say yes, and we were grateful for that. And then hugely grateful for you being so open and transparent, Anna Marie, on your story. But please do take our survey. Let us know what other topics, what other speakers you would like us to. You can put insurance related content if you want to have more on that. We do about half of our webinars on insurance, and the other half on things that I think are really important for us as a society to come together on. So with that, I'm going to talk for a few minutes about what is upcoming. But before I go into our upcoming programming, a heartfelt thanks to you, Anna Marie, and to Doctor for joining us today, raising awareness, raising funds, of course, and we don't do this very often, to talk about funding some organizations that are very worthwhile. So this is, I think, our first time we've ever talked about how you can raise funds for a charity. So let us know what you thought about that as well, folks. Anna Marie, Doctor, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Joan, and thank you everyone who tuned in.
Yes, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Okay. Now, folks, I want to talk about what's upcoming at the Travelers Institute. First is our in-person programming. We are going to be in just outside of San Francisco in San Ramon, California on May 13th. I hope you'll join us there in the Northern California region. We're going to put a link in the chat if you want to join us there. We also have some great webinars coming up on May 14th. We're going to talk about M&A, mergers and acquisitions. And we know a lot in the insurance industry, this is a very, very hot topic. Our panel is going to equip you with the knowledge to help your clients manage uncertainty, mitigate risks, and position your organizations for long-term success after an M&A. Then May 21, we'll be talking about the mindset of world-renowned sports psychologist and golf coach. See, there's a thread here. I'm having webinars on things I'm interested in. So he is a world-renowned, he coaches top PGA golfers in the world. His name is Dr. Mo Pickens, if you want to go look at his website. But his clients have won 4 majors, and he's going to join us talking about your insights on mindset, framing routines, how these important principles can help you succeed on the golf course this summer and in your career. These are not just lessons for mindset on the golf course, but also in your career. And have you ever wondered how Travelers prepares to meet customer needs during those CATs that happen out there? Weather catastrophes, fire, earthquake, hurricane. On June 4th, we're going to take you behind the flagship Claim University CAT Center. And this is part 2 of our part 3 series at Travelers Claim. A sneak peek really behind how we handle catastrophes and prepare for them from our command center. It's very cool. And lastly, don't forget you can listen to us on our Travelers Institute Risk and Resilience podcast, available on Apple, Spotify, and Google. And once again, thank you to my terrific guests today. Thank you all for joining us on our Wednesdays. We can't do it without your input, so please let us know how we do, what you like, what you don't like. Take care, folks. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week.